Welcome back. Today we're going to be speaking about sex coaching and bespoke sex coaching in particular.
Yes, and we're going to share a lot of stories with clients that have been through this experience for many different reasons and in many different iterations, because sometimes we work purely online, sometimes we do retreats with people.
I'm laughing because one of the typical questions we get, not so much anymore, but at the beginning was, what is sex coaching? Like, does that mean you're having like sex with?
Well, people actually tried to hire us to have sex with us.
Well, tell us that story.
No, I don't even like that story. It was insulting.
Well, it was odd because I don't know if these things are done differently in other countries because they
wanted the tantra session.
And yet they were saying that this happened with a therapist, supposedly.
Yes, exactly. Their therapist did it with them.
They had both massages and then they were like, oh, let's do some
offered the
swappy swap.
bonus.
And then we just started having sex with them.
And then they were like, well, Saida can have sex with me, and then Aaron can have sex with my wife. And I'm like, whoa, like slow down. This is not what we do.
Not even slow down. This is like you're in the
wrong.
You're on the wrong library book. You're
not even
browsing in the wrong section. Exactly.
You're like, you need to go to a different part of town.
So what is then bespoke coaching?
Yes, well, that's a good question. It is beautifully curated, so we do a very thorough intake form. Intimacy is an important part of people's lives. Sometimes learning what needs to happen in intimate, sexual, sensual, relational dynamics can't be solved through talk therapy alone, can't be solved through reading a book, can't be solved through online courses, as much as we would love that to be true.
And it can't also be solved just by going to your doctor, your pelvic floor therapist,
or a sex party,
your talk therapist, or definitely not by just going to a sex party. However, as opposed to rejecting those other ways or modalities and angles that one can take on dealing with one's sex life and relational life, we then complement that. So that way a person maybe post-surgery is needing help, or someone who is going through therapy for the last 10 years, we will coordinate with the professional from that field and then bring it into the realm of the bedroom as well as the relational and communication life.
But essentially it's where you get to work directly, one-on-one, with us, whether it's just Aaron, just myself, the two of us, whether it's online or in person, whether it's on your own or with your partner. There's so many different iterations of what's possible, but what excites me is just the amazing transformation that happens when people lean in and say yes. So today, I think I would love the whole episode to be available to everyone.
Okay.
And just do a
I didn't know we were going to do that.
Storytelling.
You're all in for a treat.
A storytelling episode. Well, it depends. If we get quite graphic, then maybe we're like, oh, we'll save that one for explicit and switch to that. But if we can, I think these stories are so heartwarming. They're really inspiring. And I think it covers a lot of ground. So there's stories on how couples, really want different things and they don't believe that they can get it from each other. Where there's actual physical problems that are going on that might require medication or maybe a procedure of some kind, where people actually believe their sex life is good and like, why would we even meddle with that? And then discovering that there's so much more to be discovered.
If you see Saida looking over to the sides, because we literally have such a list of all these different stories and testimonials, we want to make sure to not miss them for you. So
and hidden needs, how do we communicate those hidden needs when we're a little bit shy, or it's like, I could never say that to the person. And then also mismatched arousal was a more recent one that we saw, where there was a lot of assumptions and holding back. And these are not just couples who are new to each other. So yes, we do have some couples that are new, but then we have couples who have been together 30, 20, 40 years or even longer, some over 50 years together. So
that's one of the things that I just invite you, as you listen to this episode, think about whatever circumstances, whatever routines, whatever sort of box you have your relational life in, your partner in, yourself in, and just open your mind up to possibility. If you could have something that you'd want, or something that you'd maybe just believe, that's just never been possible for me. Whatever that thought is that pops into your head, that is already your mind guiding you towards something that you might truly like to have. And we're inviting you into this conversation because we're telling you it's something that not just you can have, but it's something probably that would be very good for you, because sex and pleasure and a positive relational life is a part of health. It's an essential part of health. And often when our genitals or our sex life is off, it is the canary in the landmine. It's the landmine of pleasure, but it's the canary in the mine that's letting you know there could be other things that are off in your body, in your relationship. And when those small little tweaks can be then adjusted, all of a sudden the amount of pleasure, the landscape of potential between you and your partner just becomes immense. And our favorite thing has just been seeing couples fall in love with each other over and over again, and just within 30 minutes of speaking.
Yeah, and also if you are a single person watching this, or you're partnered to someone who has a high lack of interest in this kind of stuff, still lean in, because there's going to be something here for you as well. So I want to jump into stories, because I think that's the most interesting, and I'd love to just first jump in to the most recent experience that we had with a really beautiful couple.
It was just a few days ago.
Been together over a few decades, and what we noticed is essentially we met with the male partner first, had a discovery of like what was going on for him, and then it became clear that we needed to include his partner, even though he'd come as a solo journey, essentially, yes, not as a partner journey. But then it became clear we needed to include her, so then we had a second call where we included her, and very, very quickly in that time, it became obvious that they were both holding back. Is that a pattern that you see a lot in people?
Well, yeah, there's definitely a pattern around holding back, and more specifically, a set of ideas that we imagine our partner to have, and then that will stop us from doing the things we want, or even if we're in the middle of doing them, stopping us from enjoying them, because we're like, oh no, well, our partner feels this way about it, they're this way, therefore I won't indulge in that.
What was remarkable, and this is what we see every single time we do bespoke coaching, every time. And it blows my mind, opens my heart so big. I mean, it's amazing. It's the best part of this work. Is when there's this beautiful moment where they start to recognize, wait, what, you actually like that, or you actually want that, or you're actually considering this, or they don't know each other, and some of these couples, it's been decades that they're together, and there's this beautiful moment, I like to call it erotic innocence, because it's so precious, where they're sharing and they're leaning in, and then they're reflecting back what that share, how that share is landing in their body, and then we're giving, a simple practice to amplify that.
I mean, something that I see that happens all the time is that you'll have one partner, sometimes we'll meet the partners individually to let them speak, and then bring them together again after they've maybe met with us already once together, because we will then sort of reintroduce to each other as they get a chance to really feel into, wait, okay, now there's a bit of a safe space. I can dare say the things that I told you individually, but didn't dare to say in front of my partner. And one of the most common things that happens is you will find partners that have fantasies that they will not want to divest or to diverge to speak about, to share with their partner. However, we'll then speak with the other partner and find out that that partner has the exact same fantasy, but has also been holding back from sharing it. And I say this because there's a reason that you chose your partner. There's a reason that you've stayed together. And often we then start to fit each other into these cultural boxes that are these constructs that seem safe, that seem okay, but there's a deep knowing and a deep magnetism for why you stay together, and the ability to have intimate conversations in a space where you feel safe enough to share. All of a sudden you start going, oh my God, well, no wonder why we're together. We have all these common things that we didn't even know we're there, and then that's when this
the rediscovery is
rejuvenance,
this rediscovery is really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
I think you meant renaissance.
Renaissance, yes, there we go. Rejuvenescence. They get a rejuvenated relational life.
So in this particular case, there was what we find is if women have been on birth control for a long time, their desire can often be quite repressed. And when they come off of that, there can be this burst of energy. And then like, how do you handle that? And then they're at different phases. And so for maybe the male partner, it can be overwhelming. So in giving them very specific practice of attunement, I always find this extraordinary. It's a simple practice. It's not how would you say, a basic practice, but it's simple in the sense that there's not a lot of components to it, but it's one that can be used at all times in any situations, non-sexually, sexually. And what we find when people learn this way of attuning to each other, well, what happened on the call when that happened?
Well, if you start with just trying to use words, then a lot of times you'll speak about all the stuff from the past, you'll get into the routine of all the words that you used before. But when you start to pay attention to the language of each other's bodies, and from a felt state come into synchronicity, then you literally get a chance to this couple, they looked into each other's eyes as if they had fallen in love for the first time again. And the amount of brightness that was there, they frankly forgot that we were there. There was a good 5 minutes.
Like kissing.
They started kissing and touching and getting lost in each other's faces. And then they were like, oh, we kind of came back to the space. And they were just so full of gratitude that they wanted to get the fuck off the call with us.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that in a non-explicit version? No. Oh, geez.
Okay. Beep. And then what happened when we checked in a few days later is they didn't actually want another session right away. They're like, we're doing fantastic. This is incredible. Let's space out the sessions, which is what I love about Bespoke. So sometimes the experience is very immersive where we spend a sequence of days together and meet multiple times each day. And there's a deepening and quite a journey. So that's almost like a little staycation where we come in and just support the couple. And then this particular one was coaching, just a simple hour on a Zoom call, but it's always so intimate. Yeah. It's always so intimate.
And the learnings that happen as well, because this isn't just learn a technique. We give you a whole new way to feel into each other, to express yourselves, to read each other's bodies, and then to explore different parts of each other's in intimacy. And those learnings, they grow as you experiment with them in those in-between times. So that way when the couple then comes back to us for that next level of learning, they're like a completely different relationship.
But I wanted to ask for a second, the listener, have you ever experienced a mismatch in your arousal where it just somehow felt clunky between your bodies? Or maybe you've also made some false assumptions about your partner because there was a mismatch happening. Or maybe, like we said a little earlier, you've actually withheld the intensity or truth of your desire and longing in order to be kind or supportive or not overwhelm your partner.
Or you believe that your partner can only receive pleasure in one way and you receive it in another. And so at best what you can do is some turn taking, which is the typical advice that's out there. But you're really wondering, well, but how could we both achieve pleasure together and share that together at the same time? Yeah.
So that particular session was really beautiful because I think when you have someone else that's not in the dyadic dimension where you're just going back and forth, you have a witness, and they have someone else who might be asking the exact same questions you've asked each other, but we're asking it in a way that is creating receptivity. And then we're coaching, like, okay, well, how did that land? And you want to share that with your partner. There's such a beautiful intimacy that happens in that discovery process that we absolutely love.
One of the other ways that I see a reoccurring miscommunication between partners isn't just that one is sharing a fantasy and the other one is having this, or that they both have the same fantasies but aren't sharing it together, is where a couple is withholding themselves because they do not want to dare having their pleasure if their partner isn't enjoying it.
Yes.
And this comes from a good space, which is, I don't want to leave my partner behind.
But then both people get shut down.
Yeah, when both people are actually enjoying it. So then they're spending more time actually considering, well, is the other person not enjoying it, as opposed to just, I'm enjoying this. They're going through their own process, their own cycle. Oh, they're going to enjoy it on their own when they come around, when they do. And then we'll be in sync, as opposed to, oh, wait, are they not liking it? I should hold myself back. And the other person's like, I'm actually liking this, but are they not liking it? I should hold myself back.
Well, what we have found is if we can pinpoint an experience that they've had recently and then do a redo,
Yes.
like a reframe, where the honest inner experience is revealed, then there's suddenly this like, really, wait, you wanted that? Because I wanted that. And so that's super exciting. I want to jump to another couple where we actually we flew to them. They were on holidays in some Greek islands, and we spent multiple days with them and worked many hours, where we would do a little one, we'd give them a break, we'd do another session, we'd give them a break. And one of the things that was going on with this couple was they were time poor for one, so it was a big deal that they took time for themselves, but they wanted to start a family, so this was, you can't start a family if you never connect. So you definitely need to make time for that.
Time poor just meaning that both very busy schedules,
Yeah.
and therefore then intimacy kind of gets pushed off to the side and doesn't
Yeah,
get
or it's
held
done
front and center.
kind of as a quick thing, but not with a lot of consciousness and creativity, so it just becomes a bit of a routine.
Well, it's in between all the necessities of the busyness of life.
Exactly. And sometimes when you're trying to conceive, you're just really just trying to get, sperm into uterus, and like that's it. And so you're forgetting that there's a love process and a turn-on process and an ecstatic process to creating life together. But this couple also came with some what they felt were unattainable desires. And what I liked about that was they both got to really name this sort of unattainable, oh, I would love this thing I've heard about way over here. I have no idea how that's possible for me, but I would love to have that experience. And then the other person saying, yeah, I've been really wanting this experience, but clearly it's not working with this person's body. And so in that process of 3 days where they got to reconnect, where they got to get in sync with each other, where they learned. What I love about Bespoke is that people don't need us afterwards. Like they literally learn skills that they can use all of their life together. And that's exciting for me. But it needs to be stacked properly, and we're not all breathing properly, for example. We're not always attuned to each other, even though we think we are. So the slowing down of the attunement process, the activation of the actual pleasure anatomy in both bodies.
Well, and both of these people were very educated with your standard, what to do during sex. I mean,
and they were having great sex according to like how they rated themselves.
Exactly. And I mean, they were enjoying each other. They were in love with each other. He had experience with lots of different women. She had great experiences with him. And she had been looking at lots of different teachers in this space, so knew about breathing, knew about the possibilities, what was out there, knew about all these things to do, all these techniques. However, though, when it came to really starting to unlock each other's bodies and how to listen to and then begin to explore each other's bodies, by the time that they were done with us, which was just 3 sessions that we did over 3 days, I loved the look in his eyes when he goes, oh my God, I'm like a kid in a playground and I'm rediscovering my partner again after all these years in a way that I just had never known. And there's so much more I can just continue to discover.
Yes. I think it was a little more than 3 sessions, but
It was?
Yep.
Well, yeah, because we had 3 days and then we did like a
we would meet it, because here's how Bespoke works. It's not just you meet within a certain set of time and then you're given sex techniques that you try right then and there. No, when we do immersive experiences, it's the conversation at the breakfast or the dinner the night before. It's the exploration of really opening up the body. And when we have several days, this process is super crucial to like actually break that down, give them time to play with it. Then we come back, we add another layer, then we have another meal.
If you look at it that way, it definitely wasn't 3 sessions.
So it felt like kind of a perpetual bespoke over a multitude of days.
Because in general, we'll spend around 6 hours with the couple doing like a more of a formalized, what I called session, workshop time, where it's like, okay, well, let's go over the different things that we're doing. Let's actually go through it, have you both experiment with this, give you guidance, really figure out what it is you want, because a lot of people will discover along the way as they evolve, their desires and their challenges evolve, and so then we can tailor make it to what's happening in that moment. But then, as you said, there's them being like, okay, leave the room so that we can now have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And just go for it.
Which we absolutely love.
Which we love. And it's never been so nice to get kicked out of a room. And then they're like, come on back later. But then also we have meals together and we'll maybe sit by the beach or wherever it's at and really then have conversations that would not seem related, but they're watching the way that we interact with each other. We're getting to see how they interact with each other.
How they're integrating the experience.
Precisely. And one of the beauties is that these type of conversations around sex, communication, attachment, bonding, it just becomes normalized.
So let's give you a little sneak peek into what's possible, because we work on many, many different levels. There's been moments where one particular partner is actually having a physical difficulty, and they're going to need to learn a skill set to help improve the circulation in that part of the body. So for example, if there's so much pelvic tension around the back part of the PC muscle, which is all the anal area, and it's causing issues with the prostate gland, like that's one like thing. And where are you going to go to get explicit but safe instruction on what to specifically do? I mean, this is huge. And so the level of trust that we feel from the client and that we have with the client is so powerful to me. I always feel like my breath is taken away from that, and then just the joy of giving the skill set. So I know that one couple, they got a big scare and they weren't sure what was going on, and they had to go to the emergency room. And of course, because of their age,
at first there was maybe some kind of like maybe a urinary tract infection.
Yeah, they didn't know what, because it was an unusual thing going on with peeing all the time. And then they went to the ER room, and because of their age, first of all, they were made to wait 8 or 10 hours, and then didn't get proper examination care. No one
didn't
actually
get any examination.
No one checked the prostate. They just started giving them drugs and put in a catheter.
Well, then they threw out, well, maybe it's cancer. There could be lots of different issues. Like it just basically scared the bejesus.
But then also suggested that the catheter stay in for 3 weeks, which I think is dangerous unless you're actually in a hospital being overlooked. So,
well, then what happened though is what specifically happens is the catheter starts clogging up, and so now like pee's coming out the side, and they're really not. It has to go back to the ER room a second time, and the doctors are just completely confused. They're like, this doesn't really fit into the norms. Well, let's give some more medication,
and
you just need to wait.
You like months later with a specialist.
Yes.
It's like, no, something needs to be done now. And so we were just blessed to happen to be with this couple. And then you said, well, can I ask, an intimate question? Are you comfortable with that? And so we asked a series of questions of like, well, when's the last time you had sex? How often do you have sex? What's going on? And then you're like, I know what this is. We can easily take care of all of these symptoms. I need to show you some very specific technique, which is intra-anal prostate relief massage.
Which, I mean, for a traditional, like what you might consider conservative,
married over 50 years
couple, exactly, and the issue is with the challenges with the man. So the thought of him having anything go in his butt was
but at that point there was like, they were like, we don't want to be on medication. And there was the cancer scare. So they were like, what can we do with our own hands, with ourselves, to help this immediately and make sure that it's not a problem?
They are a couple that's virile, a couple that do engage.
I mean, they're in their mid-70s and they're having sex every day.
Precisely.
So
and this was never even considered or asked about, because it was unimaginable that they would be having sex.
That's the ageism of this whole thing.
And so the hospital basically assumed, oh, well, it's probably some sort of like prostate problem. You're older and, things just fall apart. You're probably not having sex anyways. But if they had known the amount of sex that they were having and how good everything was before they went in there, then they would have found out very quickly that they're having way better sex than the doctors were.
The problem was just because they hadn't had sex in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
That was actually what caused the problem.
And that he hadn't been releasing.
Yeah, exactly. So then just the beauty of you being able to have that intimate time of really explaining to the wife,
yes,
here's how you do it, and really teaching her, and they liked learning it together. And then she did complain the next day. She goes, my hand got a bit sore. He's like, that's all right, because you can also do it just to yourself in the shower. So gave then another skill set. And then we heard, the next week, and then the next month, and then 6 months later, that they're doing awesome. They love their practice. Everything's functioning very well.
They say, we've been doing our homework.
They've been doing their homework. So this is really important. Like, this is why bespoke coaching can be so valuable, because of the way people are written off. They're written off because of age. They're written off because of assumptions.
Yes.
They're written off, with all, like, maybe something could have then led to a really bad problem if it had been left unchecked. But there are so many things that we can do prior to procedures and prior to taking prescriptions that it's just basic anatomical knowledge, sexual anatomical knowledge, that it's a bit of a sin that people don't know. And unfortunately, when these issues arise, what's out there in terms of books, podcasts, online courses, either maybe it is out there, but the person it's not quite their situation, so they don't personalize it, or they're not aware that there are these resources and it's too weird anyway. So having kind of like being with a doctor or a therapist, a one-on-one, very attentive moment is what they need. And I find that fantastic, because now we have another couple that's empowered in the world.
Also, in this space, but frankly, across just many fields, people don't really look at a synergistic effect of different factors combined together. It's sure, and if you think, oh, I take one pill, then I take another pill, and then I'm taking these other pills. If you don't sit down and look at, well, these pills are all going into your body. They're all having a synergy that's happening, and very few doctors will look at that. So in the same way, in the sexual space, you'll hear about techniques, this and do that, but if you don't really factor in how everything fits together and works with your body, so that way it all coordinates with the touch, with the breath, and instead you're just kind of having this delicatessen of different things you're just throwing together, playing a guessing game.
Or like in my training, I was told that every single technique was very, very important. I literally had a list of it felt like a million things that were all very, very important. I'm like, well, then which one do I do?
So being introduced to how your body works as a system of pleasure, how that fits together with another person, and then tailor-made to whatever the situation that's going on, you're no longer just learning a technique, you're learning a whole new way of being able to think and relate to yourself and your partner. And that's why we talk about the level of one's bedroom IQ drastically jumps when you start to see how all this knowledge fits together particular to your situation.
Well, you mentioned drugs. So I know one couple that we worked with, they admitted, and this is a couple that's actually well studied, that they love sex. So they've pretty much eaten everything up that they could get their hands on, and learned a lot and grew a lot together. Yet
one's even a doctor, medically proficient.
They came to a place just in chronological time where the guy felt like, my erections aren't as hard and long lasting as they used to be. And so because she's a medical doctor, then the next obvious choice, okay, well, let's get you some Cialis or, Viagra or whatever. And
it started off as just a low dose, just to kind of help out a little bit.
A little bit. And so when we talked to them, we asked some questions, and then we're like, well, if you want, we could do a bespoke session.
Well, because what had happened was that then the dosage was needing to be raised a little bit in a little bit, and it wasn't becoming as effective.
Yes. So through talking to them, they agreed that they wanted a bespoke session. And it was a super fun one because it was one where we all were there together and having to be with our own bodies and creating a sense of security, and then slowly and eventually like also working with the man's body, because at this point it was related to his body.
And I mean, this was definitely something new for him, because this isn't someone that's just like, oh yeah, let's just go to like a free sex party.
No. This is very very conservative. Only my wife, like only the things that I choose to do. So that was already a massive stretch, but there was a lot of trust.
A lot of trust, and also a strong desire to connect with each other.
Yeah.
And
to learn.
And a curiosity to learn about one's own body.
And she was like, I'm a doctor. How come I never thought about this? This is awesome. So that was fun. And then we checked in, a few days later, and he happened to be exhausted and still had an incredible time. And his body was working like it did when he was much younger.
Well, I mean, everything about that scenario, him being tired.
Yeah.
Her coming back with a lot of desire in the middle of the night, waking him up, him then also being on bottom, her on top. These would be all things that would definitely put a challenge around one direction. And when we saw them the next day, they were full of smiles. They were glowing,
very happy.
And it was like he was a teenager again.
Yeah. So that's super fun. And then we've had, I want to talk about one where the female had a block around anal sex, for example, because this is one that can be challenging for women, especially if sex is done in the friction sex style. Then it's really can be awful. And when I went to an anal doctor because I had an actual injury from bad anal sex, and it had left me not dysfunctional, but I had an issue that was going on. Kind of like, I guess the
little skin tag.
The skin was hanging from where the hemorrhoid had been before.
When you started to speak about that more publicly,
so many women have this.
So many women, all ages, were saying, I actually have that as well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kind of like cosmetic embarrassment, but then also functional, because a lot of these women were like, I actually really like anal, but now I'm afraid that I can't have it.
Exactly. So with Dr. G had the most beautiful hands. He was amazing. I wanted a gay doctor who loved anal sex to fix me up, because I knew then he would make the ass like functional for anal and not scar tissue that made it impossible to have anal. Because I was like, I don't want to limit this for the rest of my life. So, but learning from him that because of the female body and the difference in the hormones, that the anal skin is actually much more thin and sensitive, and so female bodies need a lot more warm up, a lot more preparation for anal there, if you want to prevent problems from happening. So not everyone has problems that happen, but it can just hurt. It's just like that does not feel nice from the get-go. It's like no. But the way that you teach with suction sex, where you're an active receiver, where you teach the orifices to literally yawn open and be the one in control to draw something in at the pace.
Bring the person in,
So that,
if you want more details of that, check out the episode on anal.
Exactly.
Get the membership version, because you'll get to have all the how-tos and even hear how it's being done.
Yeah, the erotic clip is cool. But that was an incredible experience, because first of all, what we did, and it was something that was important for the psychology, was that she gave to her partner first, so that he could feel what it would be like for her.
Yeah.
And she could feel like, what's the process of how to do this? So that was really amazing. And then they role reversed. And then there was just this moment where she went into these deep ecstatic bliss states with very little happening, and it felt beautiful and it didn't hurt. And so suddenly something that he deeply wanted became very available.
And she was like, well, if that's what it's like, then it would definitely be open to that.
Yeah.
He was like a kid in a candy store. It was like, ooh.
It was really beautiful, because when a couple discovers how to move together in a way that actually enhances pleasure for both bodies and supports enlivenment. And pain is a very common problem, especially in female bodies, with our vaginal openings, with the vulva, with the anus. So learning how to breathe and move and release that pain and transform that into pleasure. I mean, how many times have I said, ooh, that hurts a little bit, and then we breathe in the way that you teach people how to breathe, and suddenly that very spot that hurt becomes a spot that's orgasmic.
Exactly. I mean, that happens over and over again. And it makes sense. If you're having a lot of blood flow that needs to go to a certain area that's tense, then it feels blocked. It doesn't feel good. And then you have all of the different stories from the past that come up around any tension that you've had from that spot, whether, you know, it was from some sort of trauma that happened there, or just all the discomfort that you've had chronically day to day. And then once all of a sudden there's a relaxation and the blood can flow through it, well, this area that's been neglected first gets rushed with oxygen, blood, and sensation, because the nerves start firing off in a completely different way. And, well, people get very excited. They get very happy. And if you then have an area that actually has a lot of erectile tissue, because I've noticed people that have tremendous amounts of erectile tissue, if they haven't really learned to work with that tissue, those will be areas that they feel the strongest blocks. But then naturally, when it opens up, the erectile tissue comes alive, and they literally go, oh my gosh, there's a gold mine of pleasure, sensation, and deep emotions that I can tap into, and my partner can tap into as well.
Well, let's talk about that one couple who, they were going through a really tough time. One of their children was diagnosed with something terminal, so it was really like hard, and they still came because they realized, like, if they weren't feeling connected with each other, it has a ripple effect, and they wanted to be a team. They wanted to be very connected to each other, and they genuinely didn't feel like there was anything wrong with their sex life. They thought it was just a great sex life. But as we started talking to them, it was hilarious, because I remember she said something about the neighbors having way more sex than they did, and he's like, wait, what? Which neighbor? Which friends?
And then she goes, oh, it's just them. And then he's like, what? Really? They do? Tell me more. She's like, no, it doesn't matter. And then he's like, no, I really want to know. I mean, is it just them? She's like, no, there's others too. She's like, what? There's more going on?
So then he was really like living in this world, like everything's great. But meanwhile, she's hearing, probably because women just talk a lot more between each other. So she's hearing like this couple's having sex like every single day, and this one's like whatever, but they're only doing it maybe 3 times a week. And also you get him be
like, well, then I want to be able to have more than the Joneses next door.
But then she was like, yeah, I don't really care for it. And that shocked him too.
Because they had both started off saying everything was great. And she goes, well, I could
take it or leave it.
I could take it or leave it, but you know, I really like to do it for him.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, wait, I'm doing it for you. Like this is why I enjoy it so much and why it's so good, because you really enjoy it. She's like, oh, well, you know, I would probably never initiate, is what she said.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that when he does it, that it can be okay then.
So then the same attunement exercise that we did with the first couple in this episode, we actually...
Well, as we listened to them, we just came up with this exercise as we were hearing all their needs and seeing where things were off. And this is something that we do all the time. We then make something that's specific to that moment for that couple. And I mean, we're drawing on a combined 50 years of knowledge in this space. And so as they then we started to have them go through this practice of deeply listening to each other's body, they discovered something that they didn't think they were going to find out.
And what they discovered was that they actually both preferred when she was leading.
Yep.
And that it was extremely arousing and exciting. And then suddenly they wanted to get off that call really quickly.
They were getting into their calendars and figuring out when they could also schedule for the days after.
Yeah.
And this is, again, with something going on really seriously with their child.
Exactly.
And they knew that when they had more joy between the two of them and they were a team, that the quality of life that their child felt went up, because the child would notice this beauty going on between the couple.
Well, I want to talk about too that sometimes it's one person in the couple that chooses to do something about the situation. So it's not always the pair that comes to us. Sometimes it's one of the pair. And one scenario I want to bring in, because the pair actually ended up speaking to us after, was a man who did your YAFAP program. So he was working with his own body. And in that program,
I'm curious, I don't remember which one
men
this is.
men are learning how to breathe differently, move differently, sensualize, like, but it's not focused on the partner.
Yes.
It's focused on themselves. However, when we interviewed the couple, the woman insisted on coming on. She said, you need to understand,
Okay, yes, I remember now.
I have endometriosis. Penetration is always painful. I don't really want sex because of that pain, and you need to understand, like, it didn't hurt, and I actually had orgasms during penetration.
Which was quite amazing because he was coming within seconds of just entering. And basically was like, I don't know what to do about this. I would love to bring more pleasure to my partner, but this factor here hadn't come out in the conversations.
Yeah. So through, and this also we'll talk about the female going to do something and the impact of that. But right now we're looking at if just the one partner works with their body and really understands their body, learns to breathe differently, learns to attune differently, uses self-pleasure as a training ground for lovemaking, then just those skills, actually, we didn't give any instruction on, like, we didn't do 9 naughty nights with them. It was just strictly FAP. And somehow he brought that to her, was able to last as long as he wanted, was able to move in a way that felt incredibly pleasureful for her. And it gave her the first time ever penetrative orgasm, which healed something huge for both of them, because they love each other, but they were unable to connect well.
Well, this is the thing. Our method, which has been clinically proven through an IRB-approved study to deliver results for couples in terms of mutual pleasure, is designed around this. And when you understand how the body works as a system of pleasure, the two bodies, they complement each other. There isn't just a his pleasure, her pleasure, or giver pleasure, receiver pleasure. And this has been the same whether it's a straight couple, whether it's a gay couple, where it's an intersex couple. It doesn't matter. You learn how the body works as a whole system. And by learning that, you will start to interact with your own body in a different way that causes you to start to interact with another person's body in a different way. Because that wisdom, this is one of the things that he said he loved about this training. So he goes, oh, all right, is this what this feels like for my partner? And I can actually feel it, how that would relate to the feeling in my own body. Oh, well, then I would never do the way that I had previously learned this technique and touch this person. So he was already starting to be able to differentiate, attunement, but also differentiate between bad advice and good advice, and start to follow sensation based off of what he knew was true in his own body, which then naturally changed the way that he related to her body, which then, of course, opened her up to these tremendous states of pleasure in a way that they had formerly thought was kind of impossible. And the feeling I had was that she really loved him and sort of said, okay, well, we'll have sex because I want us to be able to, with our kid and have a good relationship as the father to my child, whom I love. And he also wanted to bring pleasure to her, but it never really translated that way. A lot of times guys are thinking that they're giving pleasure when in truth, she's sort of just tolerating it. And it's, in more technical terms, it'd be a taking of pleasure because it's for himself.
Thank you for saying that, because when you're younger in a female body, your tolerance levels are very high. You've got the particular hormonal combination that allows for that. You're a lot more...
your tolerance levels are high, and also just a little bit can go a long ways, and so then you get excited.
But then there's a moment in the life path where that drops drastically, and so friction sex becomes something that just does not work for the female body anymore. It's like, I've had enough. And so then those are when you hear women say, I'm done, I've had it, I love my husband, I just can't, I don't know what to do, I dearly wish I knew what to do, but I could easily never have sex again.
Which is no different than exercise or food. I mean, think about the things that you ate when you were young, and you're like, oh yeah, I could just eat all this, I really loved it, and then at one point you just go, I just need to cut it out of my diet because it's causing everything that I don't want to be happening in my
donuts?
system. Donuts or even a certain way of exercising that was like, okay, well, I could do that. I could just go out and party the night before and then go for a run. And the next thing you know, you hit a certain age and you're like, oh, actually, it's getting really rough. Or this type of exercise that I did is causing neck pains, back problems, etc. Well, a lot of people then just stop having sex or stop having exercise, stop doing exercise.
I want to talk about another bespoke where there was a partnered situation, but we worked again strictly with one or the other partner. This one will be a female one, then I want to actually go to another male one. But with the female one, there was a history of a lot of trauma.
Okay.
Like a lot, like from young. Never fully processed or resolved. Lifestyle choices actually enhanced the trauma and didn't make it integrate, and got to a point where her own physical capacities for pleasure were so diminished that she wasn't even sure she wanted. And this is not an older woman, this is a younger woman.
And this is a woman too that is very beautiful, very desirable, very flirtatious, has just a lot of life energy. And so the partners all thought that, she's a sex vixen and just
even
wants
her anatomy would be quote unquote responsive, but there's complete dissociation with her body. And
this is a big case of arousal non-concordance because she'd be very wet, but
zero desire,
zero sensation, even kind of like, well, I'm just doing this for my partner's needs.
So in that case, we interviewed the couple, and the partner, the husband, was like, please, whatever you can do to help my wife find her sensation again and heal in whatever ways. I trust you both. Thank you so much. And we ended up having a 1 week immersive experience where there was a lot of exploration of the psychosexual, there was energetic practice, and then there was actually hands-on work that happened just to teach her the skills to sense and feel. And I really appreciated those sessions because we were both present in those. So as Erin was working with resensitizing and coaching on the breath and physical mechanical movement, I was able to also tune into what was happening when she was dissociating to bring her back, to have her connect and use different breath and use different ways of speaking to stay present with her experience, to the point where by the end of the week she had shifted kind of like night and day in her own words, like completely changed like her own like celebration of her body. And it actually led to her choosing to leave that relationship where she had recognized like, oh, I'm this whole relationship, I've actually not been here and I've been overriding myself. And I think I just need to be alone for some time on my own, which, it sounds like an awful thing, but occasionally that is the correct choice for people, is to find their own way. And they might find each other again, or they might not, but staying really true to that. I just want to be honest that occasionally this is, what does arise is not to scare anybody, but the honest truth of it, because I get asked a lot by women who are shut down and they are in partnership and they don't really know what to do. And I'm said, well, if you're a team, then you're going to work together as a team and like move that forward. But if you've never been a team, you're going to discover very quickly when you come in alignment with yourself, I've never been in a team.
Well, and this couple too have been going through a long drawn out process where she had also admitted that, I've actually been in some ways sort of trying to leave the relationship for quite some time, and we've been dawdling back and forth.
Yeah.
But it was always kind of felt from a headspace as opposed to, well, what is my body really telling me?
But the beautiful thing is I think the following maybe half a year later, came into relation with someone who actually could see her and meet her and connect with her, and they took that relationship in very gentle, slow, they didn't rush. Which
is already extremely different than how
she normally would do things.
Which was just, hey, new person, body gets excited, oh, let's go for this, because within, a month or two of then relating, everything peters out. So just enjoy what you can at that moment. And so a lot of choices were always made in the heat of the moment, as opposed to, well, what are the deeper patterns here?
Yeah.
What are some of the deeper character traits that I'd be potentially going into a relationship for? And so took that time to really investigate and know the person in a whole other way, as opposed to just sort of jumping in the sack, ignoring any, red flags.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it was just a whole other experience of entering into a partnership. And when you can feel your body and listen to these different signals and listen to the wisdom of the body, you will choose very different partners, and you will also make different choices in partnership.
Yes, so obviously sometimes we work with people where they fall back in love with each other, but they repattern. Because often what happens that I've seen is a very wise relationship coach once said, you're going to get divorced probably 3 times in your life on average, and hopefully it's to the same person, he was saying.
Explain that a bit
And
more.
the reason for that is it's your patterns that you are divorcing. So I actually had that in my previous relationship. There were a few phases in that 13-year relationship where it was the pattern I wanted to divorce, not the human being. I still felt I love this person, I wanted to be with this person, but the pattern was intolerable. So there are these moments, and some of the most successful couples, if you interview them, they will have these moments where it's like, I no longer can tolerate this pattern ever, like 1 second more. And it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying, because does that mean we break up? No, it doesn't have to mean that. So what it means though is both have to then do their own solo work a little bit more deeply, take a little more sovereignty, a little more responsibility. And then what I've seen with those types of couples is they get stronger and more connected.
Yes. Well, because if you don't do that, what happens is that you will choose a person who's probably a lot like your last partner, because you'll have an amazing, great first time, but then once you run into the pattern, the relationship just falls apart again. Then you jump to the next one that you can have that same amazing first time, but every time that pattern confronts you, you don't know how to progress beyond it. So you just revert to having a new relationship with that same long-term pattern, ending with the short-term pattern where things short circuit. As opposed to, if you can do this and actually progress through it with the person that you're with, you and that person get to evolve to a whole new place, discover a new relationship, and that pattern goes away. If you think about it, it's the same thing that would happen even that you notice in your own life. You have certain things that you finally notice, I'm sick of this within myself, but you can't divorce yourself. So you either have to dull yourself out so that you don't feel it, or you then take up a new habit, a new pattern that allows you to evolve and move past it. Well, can you do that with another person to experience
I think that's what long-term lust and love is, like that romantic, lusty buzz long-term requires that.
Yes.
Absolutely requires that. I want to talk about another bespoke client where he couldn't, he loved sex, but he couldn't feel anything until the moment where he would ejaculate. Yes. And so, and he had a lot of medical issues and a lot of scar tissues because he was very super abused when he was younger. I don't know, lots of things happened with doctors and bad treatments and just issues that then by the time he was at the age he was, it had accumulated into a severe problem. And so we got to work with him.
And he could no longer just force his way through things. Because that was...
His body was now like, I'm just going to shut you off, which would happen. He would just randomly fall asleep here and there and just shut off.
Right, because he was extremely fit, extremely strong. The stuff that he could do in the gym was crazy. The work hours he was able to hold, the amount of employees that he had underneath him. I mean, he just was a Superman of carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, and it was just breaking down his body.
So we worked with him again psychosexually, but also physically, and retrained him to sensualize. And it was so beautiful because with him we did this in person, and then we continued over Zoom for quite a few months.
Yes.
And what I loved is we would do a session with him, kind of add a nuanced layer, like, okay, now we're here, like, let's look at this. And then it was the voice notes that we would get after of him bragging about the incredible sex he'd just had with his girlfriend and how he could actually feel something like other than in that last second. And I just found that exceptional because here's a person, he's like, I understand, like, it's not the moment with the teacher in the piano lesson. It's me practicing between the piano lessons that actually makes it better.
Well, I believe he was completely single when he first started, and then met a girl.
Yeah.
And then through that,
he was meeting lots of girls, but then he chose this one.
And he started to notice, oh my goodness, my heart is opening.
Yeah.
And then she started to, when she finally then was brought into the process, because he's like, I really want to share this process with her because I think it would be beneficial for her body as well.
Yes.
And the way, just in that first onboarding call where she then came in, the discovery that happened is as she started speaking about all the ways that she loved him for who he was. And we reflected back over that time of knowing him of how he shows up, how he dedicates himself. He started to cry on the call because he had not received that kind of feedback ever from a partner, from parents, and just was working so much to really just prove, this worth. But everything that he did screamed it. He just couldn't actually receive or bring it in. And in that moment, he was open that he could.
That was really beautiful. Yeah, I loved it. I want to wrap up the episode with something we did with a couple that then has become part of a method that we continue to work with couples, but it emerged.
I have to tell you all that this is really fun for me because she's saying these things and I'm start going through the library list.
Where was it?
I don't know who you're talking about, but okay, let me see if I can piece it together as you start to share.
Is it fun?
I'm enjoying it a lot.
Figuring it out. So this one we were listening to both people, but at separate times, talking about their needs and their kind of desires with each other, but we weren't noticing that they were actually communicating. And so we said, would you enjoy that we facilitate a session where you could have this communication?
I haven't got it yet. I'm still piecing together the library.
Well, I remember that as we were tuning into them, we went, this cannot be done as a face-to-face talk therapy experience where they're back and forthing. We need to have an embodied communication. And so that's when we started to speak about the desires, the fears, and what we were curious about. And we did it in a physical way. And it was so profound to watch the effects. And I feel like if all couples understood this, they would have so much more deeper conversations, more honest conversations, and the conversations would feel safer, and they would feel juicier, they would feel more horny. It just would just be it's just a very important tool. So I'd love just to take a moment to address that particular style of bespoke.
Well, I mean,
because that wasn't on a sex technique. This is more about, the connection and communication.
Well, this is something I've noticed in our own relationship as well. If that we're really working, we haven't taken the time to really connect physically, and then there's some sort of obstacle or challenge that's come up in our own relationship, and we then approach it the same way that we would with logistics, a business plan.
Yeah.
It doesn't go well.
No.
But when we're feeling connected, or if we make love first, or if we have been making love frequently, and the more that we stay in that flow, all of a sudden, the logistics have a tendency to focus on what's the problem, what needs to be fixed.
How fast can we fix it?
Precisely. Whereas this, it's like, no, we feel connected. We have that mutual ground beneath us, and we look at what is it that I want? What is it that you want? How can we come together?
Literally.
But also there's a creativity, a curiosity, and a playfulness that is brought to it. As opposed to, here's the problem, we need to fix it, is, wow, there's this exciting challenge that we can lean into and bring ourselves to even more amazing places.
Absolutely.
Which is literally, in the studies that look at long-term romance, long-term passion, it is that ability to have curiosity and playfulness with an understanding of seeing your partner in their highest state. And that just completely changes that dynamic of what it is that you're trying to not just resolve, but seeing and feeling where that connection is. And that was exactly what happened then with this couple. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that, or?
Well, it was just really quite phenomenal to see, like, neither of them had ever dared. And what's beautiful about the structure is you don't just talk about your fears, right? So there's this embodied way where you can share, like, well, this is what I would love, and you have to express it through generating, a pleasurable sensation in your body while the partner is encouraging that and mirroring that and reflecting that to you.
Because they're getting to feel their desires, the other person's getting to respond to it.
Yeah.
So now that creates a deeper level of trust, which allows for more sharing.
Exactly.
But also to then the ability to embody and feel the fear.
Yeah.
And then the partner has that ability to actually address the fear on a physical level
and create safety and protection and for both people,
which then allows for the security between the two of them to be established. So that way then more of those fears can be addressed and uncovered, and that again builds more trust, and then they get to explore curiosities,
what they're curious about, which is an edge. It's like, okay, I'm curious about this. It's a bit edgy, but
this is the part that I'm afraid of, so I haven't really gone into it, maybe because they're afraid what their partner might think, or they're afraid maybe I won't actually like it, but there's a part of me that's kind of interested.
Yeah, so it's this is done. Well, it's nice when we facilitate it, because I think it just takes kind of the ease, the first time experience at least takes the ease away from, because there's always one partner who's a little more controlling, and we have to do it exactly like this. We hear this all the time.
Yes, exactly.
Like, no, it's not precise. But Aaron said, he said, or Saida, whatever.
It's like you missed the part of there is not a should. Should is a dirty word. Put shitting on your partner, which is one of the Dr. Albert and Debbie Ellis. They talk about don't should on each other, which sounds like something else.
Yeah, exactly. But it's pretty accurate. So at the end of the day, why we love Bespoke, while we offer it, we're going to be offering a lot more of it in 2026, is that we see in a very short period of time people making leaps and bounds where they thought they were stuck, where they kind of look forward and go, oh God, is this going to be like this for the next 10 years, 20 years?
Well, because they jump into a course or an online course or maybe an online
and then one of them
event.
Resists, or whatever.
Well, but they have success with it. Yeah. And then they go, oh, but this is now coming up.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, is there something more they can do? And yes, we only have like these high level bespoke coaching available to select few, because it is something that takes a lot of time and effort and coordinating, just in terms of like if we're traveling out to someone or they're traveling to us. So we can only do so many in person. But when we learned, well, you know what, this actually is working online. This is working in different types of formats. Now that possibility opens up, and we're like, who are we to stop this floodgate as people are going,
exactly,
we want to go even further.
And it makes sense, because now it's custom made to the actual couple and to their actual real needs, their real experiences. And when you're falling back in love again in such a profound way and feeling more confident and more open together, I think that's just absolutely incredible.
And sometimes it's just 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's several days, a week maybe. And sometimes
we're willing to spend a whole year with people to get the results that they're really looking to have.
And one of the other pieces that I love about Bespoke is that we have a tremendous network of sex positive, very affluent and knowledgeable professionals from other fields, because this is a multidisciplinary effect.
Sometimes other things are required, and so we need to bring those resources in. But to finish off, if you don't know, we do have the 9 Naughty Nights, which are 9 dates that we put together, something very short that you can add to your current fun repertoire. So you're not dissing that, you're just adding a little extra.
It's literally from this program that the clinical study was based on. Mm-hmm. And the results are just tremendous and fun.
And then we did do sometimes we will offer lives where we upgrade the knowledge of that. So we did a version last year where we had an oral piece, and that was so much fun to see everyone on Zoom. They turned all their cameras off, they would do the homework, and then they'd come back and their hair was all messy and the sheets were all messy.
And they're like, next?
Do we have to stop? We want more. So it was really sweet. And then I think we're going to do 9 more Naughty Nights at some point. And then within the couple, sometimes one or the other needs to address something personally. So for the female body, we have Awaken the Sensual Woman, which if you go through it just on your own, you're going to have a new level of understanding and confidence in how your pleasure anatomy works and how to activate yourself. Then you can bring your partner in and share that knowledge, because it's such powerful knowledge to share together.
And for the men, there's YAFAP, do the exact same thing, being able to work with your own body, and then how can you share that with a partner? Both of these, as you've gone through it on your own, or after you've gone through it on your own, you can bring your partner into these practices.
Yeah.
And the focus again is on yourself. We then have other courses, which the focus is on your partner's pleasure.
Yeah.
But wherever it is that you want to start, get into it. Start to explore, discover what's there, and then as you evolve, you're going to realize, okay, well, let's shift the focus here. And then so many couples go through that experience, and then they want to have a bespoke experience.
Yes, and maybe if you don't want to have a bespoke just yet, but you want more interaction, we're also going to be launching the Love Lab at the Embodied Love University, which I'm really excited about because it's going to build community around like just people who love to love and love to do it well. And so once a month we will be sharing a personal practice, a partnered practice, and then at the end of that month there'll be a live Q&A with the two of us where we're just going to say, well, what did you discover? What was the challenge? What was the win? And grow, because we found as a community, when we speak about these things openly is when there's the most amount of growth, the most amount of normalizing situations, because sometimes people try things, they're like, yeah, but it's not quite working for our body type, and we don't look like they do, so maybe that's the problem. And so then when they can ask a live question and you get the hot seat right then and there, which, you know, if you had to hire us privately to get that hot seat, it's way more expensive than being part of the Love Lab. So that's going to be a really cool part of the paid membership, where you're part of the live community and you get to learn together. So there's so many amazing resources. But again, the bespoke, I think, is something tremendous, something that if you are
it's extremely rare
wanting to, if you have a very specific issue that just hasn't been able to shift and move, that's a good reason. Or if you're just like, I want to know what else there is because I've kind of come to my plateau, I don't know what else is possible, and you want to have fun adventure with your partner, then that's another reason why we would do the bespoke.
I get so much joy, and listeners, I don't know if you saw, I actually was feeling tremendous amounts of love in that moment hearing you speak about the Love Lab, because it's such a beautiful experience to get to create these experiences with you and to be able to bring this knowledge out in partnership with you, and to really have this common calling that we get to build something together. And I find that so beautiful. And this is frankly one of the things that people and you would have the opportunity to do, is just get to share the energy that we do, and then bring that into your own relationship and actually change that relationship, not to be just about relating and going through the work of, you know, how can we relate better, but starting to create the family, the future, the possibilities that the both of you want.
Yeah, especially if you're empty nesters, now you need a new fun project to co-create together. So.
Or if you're about to create the nest,
yes,
bring yourselves into alignment.
Exactly. So wherever you're at in your life, we're really, really happy to be here to speak with you, to support you in whatever way that we can. So thank you for being with us today.
To join us for the complete and explicit version of the podcast, simply upgrade your membership and gain instant access.